Hi everyone, my name is Eva. I'm a executive wellness holistic health consultant, and today I wanted to talk to you about the story of Mary. And she was featured in the National Geographic magazine, and you can actually purchase this at Target, or I'm sure any local bookstore that's near you. At Barnes and Noble is another one that you could go and find this. But I was really happy to see this because, again, it's about the story of Mary, and from the beginning to the end, the apparitions, when she has presented herself in front of people, or just a very small amount of people, and they have evidence to show that it's actually happened, and it's recognized by the Vatican. So I'm going to do a little show and tell first, and I'm going to get into the stories of Mary, and I'll also share a lot of the information that I've learned by reading the National Geographic magazine that specifically featured her. And then at the very end, I will try to get to some healing remedies, but we'll see if we can get to that spot. So first, I will share with you a couple books that I do recommend, that I feel will help you for the next year. And, they're very basic. I'm sure you've seen these, but I think they still work. And so this is Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People in the Digital Age. Some of the recommendations here are very simple. It's as simple as smiling. Smile at people is something very simple, and it's something that I had a former partner of mine who did quite often, and it worked really well. Actually, it was very annoying because he was very good at winning people, and he just flashed a smile, made people giggle, and he would get his way. But so I do recommend. Also, he also had a good sense of humor, so that really helped him. So I do recommend reading this book because it's important. Again, it's very basic, but it works. And then I have The Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. It is the art of making and marketing work that lasts. I really believe in the things that he recommends. A lot of what he says. Well, in this book specifically, there's a story that he mentions that he does talk about sometimes. And it is about, someone coming along, and there are two bricklayers, and they both get asked the same question. They get asked, what are you doing? And one of them says, I'm just laying bricks, and there isn't a purpose behind what he's doing. And then there is the other bricklayer, and he explains that he is building a cathedral. And so really what he meant by that, what Ryan Holiday was getting to, is that some people choose to do work, and they understand that there are baby steps to get to the bigger picture of what they're doing. And with the perennial seller, you want to make sure that you're building something that will last for centuries. And it relates very much to the Bible because, first of all, the cover of his book, it looks like it is very kind of like ancient looking or like an older cover. It's really nice, and it's got like gold in the writing. So it really does have to do with the Bible because the Bible has been everlasting, and the Bible really sells itself. It's Lee Strobel, who is a former lawyer that graduated from Yale University, explains that the Bible, the facts that have happened in the Bible, there is an overwhelming 24,000 pieces of evidence to show that that the events in the Bible actually happened. So I do recommend this book. I do have another one of Ryan Holiday's books. It's called Ego is the Enemy. And from that book, I've learned that things are really not about you, and that the ego, you need to meet right in the middle. You can't be on one side or the other. It means that you can't have too much of an ego where you think that you're all that, or that you're insignificant, because that means you have a huge ego too. That you really need to get over yourself, and that you really need to just present the facts, and it's not make it about yourself, but really about what you're doing and what you're trying to do. So again, I do like listening and reading to Ryan Holiday because he mentions a lot of great points, and I did have to take a break from him because he sounds a lot like my parents, but his advice, because my parents and my family are, talk about a lot of stoicism, and, that's familiar with my family being stoics and everything that they've had to overcome. So again, I do recommend his books, are very good. And then show and tell. So for the show and tell, I have Our Lady Fatima. This was given to me by my mother, along with other many things that she has given me related to religion. This is a Virgin Mary, but I don't know who she is. It says, Hail, Holy Queen. And she has a statue of this one. So let me grab that so you can see it. I have borrowed it, so this is it. And these are the types of things that I grew up around, which, I think it's healthy because it shows that you need to show respect, and it also shows that you put an image to the things that you pray, and it serves as a reminder also. So you're always mostly in your best behavior. Okay, so now we're gonna get into praying, just because I think that's a good segue. I'm going to pray one Hail Mary, and then we'll get into the Nicene Creed, which is what I generally pray, just to bring God's presence here. I think it's healthy and it helps. What I'll also be doing is, in the future at some point, I want to get into teaching how to pray the rosary. I think people are confused and really don't understand how to do it. This is like a little pamphlet of it, and excuse the state that it's in. I've been carrying it in my purse for a really long time, and so that's why it's in this hard condition. But it talks about like the mysteries that you can go through, and every time you go through, here's my rosary here. So every time that you go through, and you start on the left side always, because Mary is facing you, and so you want to start on the left side. And then at every, after praying 10 Hail Marys, you get to a mystery is what they call it. But it's the Our Father, and you're supposed to meditate on each mystery that you pray. But we'll get into that at some point. I feel like it's a little bit too overwhelming, and I'll create a separate video for that. And I'll link or I'll share the title of another video of another woman who does a really good job at explaining how to pray the rosary. And so I want to make sure that the more people share the way that they pray the rosary, it helps people get accustomed and can relate to it. And then I'll explain why it's important to pray the rosary. I'll get into the stories about Mary, and what's the significance of this, and why is it important. So I'll start with a Hail Mary, but you always really want to start with a Our Father is what you start with at the bottom. You start with the Our Father, and then 3 Hail Marys, and then the Our Father again, and then you start with a Hail Mary, and then you do 10 Hail Marys. So Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now at the hour of our death. Amen. So that's the Hail Mary. And then I'm going to do or pray the Nicene Creed. Again, it's to bring his presence here. Nicene Creed. I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible. I believe in one Lord, Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, born of Father before all ages, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made, consubstantial with the Father. Through him all things were made. For us men and for our salvation, he came down from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary and became man. For our sake, he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He suffered death and was buried. and rose again on the third day, in accordance with the scriptures. He ascended into heaven and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom will have no end. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father and the Son, who with the Father and the Son is adored and glorified, who has spoken through the prophets. And I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. I confess one baptism for the forgiveness of sins, and I look forward to the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come again. Amen. So now I'll do it in Spanish because that's what I normally do, and I like the sound of it. It just sounds really nice to hear. Creo en un solo Dios, Padre Todopoderoso, Creador del cielo y de la tierra, de todo lo visible y lo invisible. Creo en un solo Señor Jesucristo, Hijo único de Dios, nacido del Padre antes de todos los siglos, Dios de Dios, luz de luz, Dios verdadero de Dios verdadero, engendrado no creado, de la misma naturaleza del Padre, por quien todo fue hecho, que por nosotros los hombres y por nuestra salvación bajo del cielo, y por obra del Espíritu Santo, se encarnó de María la Virgen y se hizo hombre, y por nuestra causa fue crucificado en tiempos de Poncio Pilato, padeció y fue sepultado, resucitó al tercer día, según las Escrituras, y subió al cielo, y está sentado a la derecha del Padre, y de nuevo vendrá con gloria para juzgar a los vivos y muertos, y su reino no tendrá fin. Creo en el Espíritu Santo, Señor y dador de vida, que procede del Padre y del Hijo, y que con el Padre y del Hijo recibe una misma adoración y gloria, y que habló por los profetas. Creo en la Iglesia, que es una santa, católica y apostólica. Confieso que hay un solo bautismo para el perdón de los pecados. Espero la resurrección de los muertos. Espero la resurrección de los muertos y de la vida del mundo futuro. Amén. Okay. I'm going to take a minute to talk about what I'm wearing. I decided to wear this because it reminded me of the glass stain windows that you see when you walk into cathedrals or churches, and that is the reason why I decided to wear this. And just to honor Mary. Sorry, I just laughed because it literally was 11:11 a second ago, and then it just turned to 11:12. So I felt like maybe it was the right time to do that, to share that bit of information with you. My reason to wear this. Again, it has like lots of color and exciting to walk into cathedrals. You know, many people are posting pictures of beautiful cathedrals, and you know, I feel like there's a unification happening more and more. I think people are realizing and they're appreciating God, and you know, there's younger people that are doing this as well. Brett Cooper is one of them, and she became Catholic and recently had a baby and got married. And so it's exciting to see people who are, you know, really owning prayers and owning, you know, being more consistent and being religious and being supportive of people, and really, I guess, people coming to their senses and understanding how important it is, and that God will give you the power to do things and to help people if your intentions are good. If he sees in your heart and in your mind and in your eyes that you have good intentions and that you want to do good and spread good intentions and be kind, he will move heaven and earth and oceans for people who do the right thing. And as I say this, I feel God is listening. So if you are a good person and you only think and have good intentions for people and are only doing good things and not speaking poorly about people, you know, doing things to throw people under the bus, not literally, but that's an expression, an American expression, or an expression in English where people, again, this is another one. If you don't know American expressions, it's hard to explain. So, people, again, speaking poorly about other people, you know, doing things intentionally to hurt others, God will see it. He will know your plans. He is inside of your head. He is inside of your heart. Please just have good intentions and be a good human, because that's what we all came here to do. The purpose, and Lee Strobel and John Burke, who were featured on Sean Ryan's podcast, have mentioned this as well, that God's intention is to bring heaven and earth together as a whole. And he wants to bring all of us to heaven and make earth be like heaven. And from watching near-death experiences, there's a gentleman, I don't recall his name, but I'm going to make sure I put it in the description box below. And I know I've mentioned him before. It was a gentleman had died for 45 minutes, and they had already zipped him up in a black bag, body bag. And the guy in the ambulance who was taking care of the body, there was 3 times that he felt something in his chest and in his heart telling him to open up the bag. And he mentioned, this one is still alive. And when he heard that third message come around in his heart, in his chest, in his mind, he opened up the bag, and then he felt a pulse in that man's ankle. And because he revived him, that man went on and wrote a book, and he's American, and you know, he shared, he went on to share that the future of our future looks very bright, very beautiful. And I feel people like Elon Musk has the courage to create something like that, a utopia for everyone. And so it'll probably be very futuristic, very space-like, which is expected. But I feel like most of all is that we'll all be, all of us in the whole world will be able to live with each other and be kind to each other and be supportive. That is the goal, and I do truly believe that, and I feel like we have the power to change our future. We truly have the power to change. Every decision that we make does make a difference, but we don't have to stress, because that only creates inflammation and disease in our bodies. We do need to be careful that every time we make a decision, we ask ourselves, is this the right thing to do? And if it's not, you don't do it, or you try to make it right, and not to be reckless, not to be careless. And so I think that's the message. I wanted to show you two images that I found recently that are so beautiful. Part of a cathedral is the Basilica di San Lorenzo. I would assume this is in Italy. I said Italy funny because my niece says it that way. This is one of the cleanest and most perfect examples of pure and rational Renaissance architecture, designed by the father of modern architecture, Brunelleschi. So I will show it to you here. That's the image, if you can see. And then I'll show you the other one. The other one is, compare that to its precursor, the Florentine Gothic Santa Maria Novella. Oh, hold on, I can't see what that says. Oh, a more spiritual type of architecture. So again, this is the Santa Maria Novella. Sorry about the glare. That's really as best I can do. So that's the image. And again, so there's lots of artwork, there's just really good vibes going into these churches and cathedrals. It's very quiet, very peaceful is the word. It's very peaceful. So now we'll get into the story of Mary. I'm getting over a cold, so excuse the cough. And then I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure that I share everything. So I believe peace is luxury. So that's another reason why I'm doing this. We're going to get into the story of Mary now. As I open it, I'm going to share different parts of the magazine because I think I'm just so excited that they've decided to feature Mary here. She has brought so many miracles to people. This is, of course, for the Roman Catholic Church. But, while working at this hospital that I was at a bit ago, I was working with a doctor, and I walked into his office, and he had, I think this is her. Let me show you. I think this is her. This is Maria Magdalena. He had had her in his office. But I think this is Maria Magdalena. I might be wrong, but I have to double check with my mom. Maria Magdalena has a robe like this. It's blue, but she has a rosary, a white rosary on her right arm. And so he's Hindu and his wife is Catholic. And that is the reason that he had a little statue of Mary, but it was more of it was a little bit larger than this one. And it was just interesting to see that. I think he has Mary in his office as a reminder of peace and of hope for our future. And I think it's really nice to have Mary, a statue of her near you so that she can bless you. But I wanted to share that bit of information because I think it's important and it's unique. So I'm just going to show you these images because I can't not show you. These are really incredible. This looks like this might be Portugal. I don't know. This is by Daniel S. Levy. See, that's the image of Mary, and people are praying to her. The images are incredible, and this is just beautiful. The contents, introduction is her early life. It's chapter 1, chapter 2, Mary's times. Chapter 3, just Jesus comes of age. In that section, chapter 3, I believe, they really go over the history of what's happening in the world and how the Romans are the most powerful and have taken over a lot of the area where Mary and Joseph lived. I personally want to take a little bit more, take more online courses so that I have a little bit more context. And I was reading through it, but they mentioned Caesar and they mentioned other rulers that I really can't associate with and relate to what's going on at the moment. And I know that the Romans are ruling at the time, but what's difficult for me is that I need a timeline on what's happening so that I can associate, okay, so when Mary was born, this is what was happening in history. When Jesus was born, this was what's happening in history. I need to understand what's happening in history during these timelines so I can immerse myself in that time. Again, this reminds me of the TV show that I grew up watching, Quantum Leap. It was one of my favorite shows. I don't know if you know of it, but if you have a time to or chance to watch an episode, I do recommend it. It's one of my favorite characters. I was obsessed when I was growing up watching it religiously because he really immersed himself in the character that he lived in a timeline where he quantum leaped into a different time of life, and so he became a character, and he was able to experience history that during that time. So I really love doing that when I listen to stories that are told about history so that I get in a more immersive experience. And it's speaking of immersive, actually, that reminds me, I'm going to share this with you because I think it's incredibly awesome. There's a museum somewhere, And if I can't find it here, I will definitely share it with you in the description box below. Because I think it's really amazing, the museum, and I want everyone to go and experience it. I don't exactly remember where. Oh, I found it. I think this is it. Maybe not. Darn, it's a really cool museum where you get an immersive experience of what you're walking into, like a hologram. And so it's an inclusive experience. And I really love that when you're in a hologram, because yeah, I don't see it, which is unfortunate. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, maybe I'll just share it with you in the description box when I find it. But I think they have something like that just because I think it's kind of neat. And if you have a chance to travel, I would recommend going. I'm going to write that down just so that I don't forget to share that with you. Holograph, I think it's called. Hologram or holograph. Okay. Chapter 4 is St. Mary. And chapter 5 is Ever Present, which are the sightings that they go into. It's another image of Mary. Mary's one of the most famous women in history, an exemplar of purity. But what do we really know about this young Jewish girl named Miriam, who became the mother of Jesus? We meet her at the start of the gospel according to Luke, and learn that the angel Gabriel was sent from God. A virgin to a man named Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. Sorry, I just needed a sip of water because it's been almost 40 minutes. And I need a sip of water. When Gabriel arrived, he told her, Gabriel is an angel. Again, see, they don't give any context here. Gabriel is the angel that came down and spoke to Mary and explained that Jesus would be born. Gabriel arrived. He told her, Hail, favored one. The Lord is with you. This is found in Luke chapter 1, 26 through 28. He then told Mary what was being asked of her. After that, we have just brief appearances by Mary. We see her visiting Elizabeth, the birth of Jesus, bringing her son to the temple. Elizabeth is her cousin, by the way. Again, no context. Bringing her son to the temple. I don't know. Do they do this on purpose? I don't understand why they write these things and don't give enough context. Maybe on a tablet it would be different. If you open this into a tablet and you purchase the magazine in a tablet where you click on a name and it gives you a little brief history on the relevance of the name Elizabeth and what her name has to do with the story. Otherwise, you're kind of like, who's Elizabeth and who cares, you know? The birth of Jesus, bringing her son to the temple, the arrival of the Magi, the flight to Egypt, Passover in Jerusalem, Mary at the wedding in Cana. I did tell you that about last time. That was the last story I told you. The wedding in Cana, where Mary was mentioned. Her efforts to see Jesus during the ministry throughout the Holy Land, her presence at his crucifixion, and then as her son's followers surround her after the resurrection. That is all that the New Testament tells us of the Mother of God. The books do not tell Mary's story. They are instead about the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. But as the human who was and still is closest to God, the only person present at the important stages of his brief presence on earth, Christians and others have wanted to know more about Jesus' most devoted disciple, despite the I don't know what this means. Paucity of solid information on her. I'm going to look that word up because I don't know what that means. Which is probably really not a good thing. But that's why we're looking it up, so that we know what it means. The presence of something only in small or insufficient quantities or amounts. Scarcity. Christians and others have wanted to know more about Jesus, most devoted disciple, despite the paucity of solid information on her. Oh, that there isn't enough information on her. Hail Mary. This is the next paragraph. Mary has been exalted and called by many names. Gabriel bestowed on her the title Favored One. Since then, she has been called Queen of Heaven, Mother, I can't pronounce that, Ark of the, and I don't want to mispronounce it in what I think it means. I might say it wrong, so I want to avoid misinforming you. Ark of the Covenant, on the Tower of Ivory. People have been petitioning Mary for nearly 2,000 years and reciting the Hail Mary for some 1,000 years. They actually share here the prayer of Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now at the hour of our death. Amen. I also wanted to mention that there's another gentleman who is a priest and explains, he actually goes through the entire rosary, so you never have to do it on your own. It has been played on YouTube for 1.8 miles. I don't know why I do this sometimes. This is very Italian. I'm not Italian. I mean, I'm mixed. I have some European in me. I could have Italian, but I guess it's from my former partner who was Italian. He had descendant from Italy. He was half Brazilian. He was so proud of being Brazilian and having descendants from Calabria in Italy through his father's side. I'm going to find the name of that priest. so that you can, I can also add it to the description box. Here he is. Let's see if I can find. Here we go. His name. So you can go out and find it. So the name of the YouTube channel is called Ascension Presents. And his name is Mike. What is his name? Father Mike. I don't know his last name. But I will show you what he looks like. This is what he looks like. He goes through the entire rosary, so you don't have to do it on your own. Ever. He's been featured in a lot of places, I think. And I think it's really nice to have his presence. He reminds me of Father Henry, who moved to Italy recently, I believe, this year. I saw him in the summer at a cafe called Tate. This is so strange, but outside my window, I can hear a pigeon. I don't know why. There would be a pigeon outside right now because it's really late. It's like 12 a.m. on a Saturday. I can hear a pigeon just outside my window. Strange. You would think they would be in a tree somewhere, not next to my windowsill. Yes, I will add his name and this video on how to pray the rosary in the description box. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget either. Okay. Let's see. So they do a really good job about, mentioning the sightings of Mary. Oh, this is the map of Mary sightings, and they show a graph, at the bottom they show a graph with the timeline. Super interesting. And coincidentally, I feel like the more intelligent we've become starting in the 1950s, it looks like the number of appearances has gone up, I guess, if that's what that means. Apparitions are not supernatural, have not yet been investigated, or are under investigation. So there's a ton, as you can see here, there's a ton that have said they have seen Mary. And what's so interesting too is that Mary, when she appears to people in the form of their culture. So let's say, she appeared in Portugal. She looked like people in Portugal, or she appeared in Africa. She appeared African. She's appeared even in Asia. And I do want to get into that because I found some information about that, which is really interesting. And I can share another video that I found about this information where she was found in Asia. And she talks about the warnings about our future. Honestly, I'm not afraid about the future. I'm not afraid because I have faith in God, and I have faith in the angels and Mary, that we have the power to change our future. We do have the power to change our future. If we stay consistent and we're kind and we do good things, we can overcome our bad thoughts. We can what we're supposed to be doing is switching that immediately into a good thought. If we have a bad thought, we replace it quickly. I could share with you the name of a YouTuber. Her name is Bobby. She's hilarious. At the very beginning, honestly, I didn't think I would have anything in common with her, but she has had a really hard upbringing. And when I heard that, I was able to relate to her. And, she started a YouTube channel called House of High Vibrations. And I listen to her often because she is a lot like others that, that I listen to, like Joe Dispenza. And I also listen to, I think his name is Benjamin Hardy, who actually adopted a Guatemalan, and has a family of, a big family, 5 children. Let me see if I can. His book is called Be Your Future Self. And so really that's where you want to start, is to be your future self always. That's where you want to start, and it will make it a lot easier to accomplish your goals. His name is Benjamin Hardy, is what I thought. It reminds me, last name Hardy makes me think of Tom Hardy, the actor, who is really intimidating, but he's a sweetheart, apparently. Yeah, Tom Hardy. But no, we're talking about Benjamin Hardy. And I feel like by praying the rosary can also bring our dreams into fruition, because it is like a meditative state that you are in, and you are envisioning and praying to Mary and praying to God that your desires will come into reality. You do need to put in the work. You need to listen to your dreams, listen to what God says. Evidently, you need to do the hard work also, which is, following what the professionals have done. The easiest way to get to where you want to be is by doing something that someone has already done and then doing the same exact thing. It doesn't matter that you're doing the same exact thing, because everyone is unique and it won't be exactly the same. It'll be unique. Yes, it might be the same ideas, but the point is, copying people who are doing the right thing is not a bad thing. And it'll be unique to you because no one else is like you. So again, the apparitions that are more significant here are Our Lady of Rosary Fatima, who was who presented herself in Portugal in a city called Fatima, and that's how they name each one of those apparitions of Mary. When she appears, they name her after the city that she appears in. For example, Our Lady of Lourdes is another one. So many stories. There's so much that I can share with you, and I think I'm going to share it with you now, because they do talk about it closer to the end of this, but I feel like it just makes sense to share it now because it starts with this graph. And the other apparition that is very significant is Our Lady of Guadalupe in Mexico City, in Mexico. And I'm sure there has been another one. Our Lady of Miraculous Medal, Paris. That one I don't know enough about. I do know the Our Lady of Lourdes because, as I told you last time, there has been over 70,000 miracles, but only 70 of them are have been investigated by 300 scientists and doctors, each one of them. And so they only give credit to those 70 miracles because it has to meet certain metrics where these people have to have been healed for a certain amount of time, 20, 30 years. And once they have gone over that amount or the criteria that they're looking for, then they actually make it official and say that those are actual miracles, and they can't explain it, but it's through the power of God and prayer around you. There's Gaia, the YouTube channel Gaia, or that program called Gaia, where they have already done a lot of research where if somebody prays for you, or people pray in general into a glass of water, they can see that the water particles change. You can go out and do your own research. It's out there, and you will see that it's proof. Our bodies are mostly made up of water, and so I believe, and I know for a fact, that when somebody prays good things into yourself, that good things happen, and you'll be healed. So I'm going to move along with this here. I'm going to talk about the apparitions, because it doesn't make sense to talk about the apparitions and not go into depth with them. And it's very tricky because we also have her early life. Maybe I can just briefly go into her early life. And since I've already kind of spoke about the other things briefly, I just want to make sure that this makes sense to you. So, yeah, let me just read these because I think it's important. Okay, yes, we'll get into this. Oh man, because I have actually information that I want to share with you about these sightings. And then we'll talk about her early life and who Mary is. Or am I going backwards? I feel like I'm going backwards because I'm not telling you enough information about who Mary is. I'll just give you a brief summary. Her early life, really, she was born to Joaquin and Anne. They were an older couple who were having difficulty conceiving, and what I believe happened is that Joaquin received he received a message through his dreams, and I'll read this at some point. I feel like this video needs to be I was thinking about this ahead, that this video needs to be separated into 3 different videos because there's just so much information here that I want to share with you about Mary. I think it's really important. And I don't want to misinform you. So I'm just going to read this. And then we'll get into the apparitions because it's gonna be a long video. And I think it is a good thing that it's a video because then you'll be able to connect with the information. So her early life, Joaquin and Anne's special child. Can anything good come from Nazareth? Wondered the disciple Nathanael. This is found in John 1:46. This sleepy Judean village near the Sea of Galilee sat at the edge of a vast, wealthy Roman Empire in a land conquered in 63 BC by Roman General Pompey and turned into a client state with Herod as its king. While Nazarenes yearned for independence, a return to ancient glory. Most Jews like Anne and Joaquin. I'm going to show you a picture of them. That's Anne, that's Mary, and that's Joaquin. That's how you spell their names. Joaquin and Mary. Oh, I didn't realize that it's actually backwards when you see it. Joaquin. That's Joachim. So focus on closely following the laws set out in the Bible. What little we learned about Mary's parents comes from Apocrypha volume and Protevangelium of James, probably found in the book of James. The secondary century work was compiled to help flesh out Mary's childhood. Flesh out Mary's childhood. Sorry, I'm going to read that again. The second century work was compiled to help flesh out Mary's childhood and emphasize how miraculous she and her son Jesus were. Such a special young woman would have come from pious parents, while Joaquin and Anne had a good marriage. This elderly pair yearned for one thing: they could not have a child. Joaquin's inability to sire a son or daughter so grieved him that one day he retreated to the countryside. There he pitched a tent and fasted for 40 days and nights and vowed, "I will not go down either for food or for drink until the Lord my God shall look upon me." Anne, meanwhile, said she would bewail my childlessness. She sat in her garden and lamented, "Alas, who begot me, and what womb produced me? Because even the earth brings forth its fruits in season." An angel appeared and told her, "The Lord has heard your prayer, and you shall conceive and shall bring forth, and your seed shall be spoken of in all the world." An angel also came to Joaquin, saying God had heard his prayer. So God does hear prayers. That's what it proves. So then it shows the birth of Mary, the whole story there. This is the 15th century painting, depicts Joaquin and Anne as they await their special child. They show her, this is Mary in the middle with Joseph. Mary's 15, and the reason for that is because as soon as you showed proof that you could have children, they would marry you off, or you would have children right away, because the life expectancy back then was 30 years old. And so women or girls would have babies really early in age, which was very common. And 15 years old is significant because actually a lot of, so in the Hispanic communities, or for Hispanics in general, I believe in Mexico and in Central American countries and Southern, actually, possibly. I'm not sure about Southern. Definitely in Central and in Mexico, there are something called quinceañeras where, I think here in the States, in the United States, they celebrate your 16th birthday. In Hispanic communities or countries, it is 15. So the age 15 is significant. And Mary was 15 when she had Jesus. So here they show raising Jesus, what it was like. And I might go back and share a little bit more information about this because I think it's really interesting. There's lots of speculation about where he was, but from the information that I've gathered, he's either traveled or he was really a carpenter from the age of 12 to his early 30s. He was with Joseph learning to be a carpenter. But there has been other things said, which I need to do a little bit more research on. And here he's shown, speaking at a temple, speaking with other wise men. And because Jesus was philosophical and really well knowledgeable. See, it talks about the Roman occupation, which I want to actually wrap my head around. And I feel like I need to take a online course on this, because then I can give you more information and you can connect, again, have a more immersive experience. And so that you understand what was going on at the time, because these are actual facts. And I think you deserve facts. I think you deserve to know the truth, about who God is and how everyone is able to connect with God. Everyone is able to connect with God. That is if you do the right thing for the most part and you are a good human. Not everyone's able to connect with him. Not everyone speaks through other people, and so that you're able to communicate with God. But you really have to censor yourself and be a good human. Try to do the good thing. Try to help as many people as possible. You have to impress God. You have to try to help millions and billions of people, so that he does put protection over you and the people around you, but he will again move heaven and earth for you, so that because he knows you have integrity, and he looks for that in people. He wants to know, will you do the right thing? If he cannot trust that you do the right thing, and everybody fails. Everybody has the choice. Everybody has free will. You have to choose to do the right thing. He is in us. God is in us, but he has sent us here to do the right thing. And I think it's harder sometimes to do the right thing, because it is so easy to slip up and do the wrong thing. But if you follow God's word and you always do the right thing, he will do so many good things for you, the things that you're looking for. But you have to do the work too. You can't just pray and not do the work, because then he can't help you and open up doors for you to meet the right people if you're not making the effort. And when you make the effort, he does speak through people to open up those doors, and you keep trying. And no matter what, however many times that you try, he will make it possible for you. And this is what Bobby actually explains in her videos, in her YouTube channel, House of High Vibrations. She explains that, she says, she's very I don't want to say cutthroat. She's very to the point, and she, not all of us have been made the same. And for some of us, it's difficult. It really is difficult. We are trying to get away from bad habits, the way that we present ourselves. It's very difficult to try to be the best versions of ourselves if it's not good enough for some people. And she says, oh my God, this makes me almost choke, because some people do try. They try their hardest. She says she doesn't care. and she says that you're not trying hard enough. But a lot of people do try. A lot of people try their hardest, and she says that she doesn't care if you've tried 400 million times. You have to keep trying to get to your goal. And I do believe in that. I feel like you never give up and you never give in. You never give in and give up on your goals. If, God will put things in your path, but you have to see the signs. You have to seize the day, take advantage of the moment, and really know that God wants to put things in your path. And again, seize the moment, take the opportunity to talk to the people that he puts in front of you, and do the right thing. That's what I can tell you. Let's see. Yeah. So it goes through the history of the Roman Empire. Let's see. Shows you where the Roman Empire has taken over during that time. Sorry if my accent is all over the place sometimes, because I listen to different people all the time. And because I grew up in the suburbs, in a really nice city, sometimes if I listen to certain people or songs, I take on their accents. That's just how it works. And so this magazine also does highlight Jesus' disciples and who he chooses at the very beginning. They talk about his crucifixion. These images are incredible. I mean, these paintings that they've chosen here are really beautiful. The reason, this reminds me of the interview with John Burke. He is a engineer and a pastor, and has written books on near-death experiences. John Burke. The reason why they were crucified people like this, the Romans would do this because they wanted to set an example. He says, don't mess with the Romans, is what John Burke said when he was being interviewed in the Sean Ryan show, where he explains, this is what they did, which is really harsh to do to humans. But this is what happened to Jesus. And he did it all to save us, and to, it's really because of the sins that we have committed, and he wanted to he was crucified, sacrificed for himself, because, he wanted for God to take him and not to do anything terrible to the rest of the people that lived during that time. They talk about the transfiguration of God when he goes into heaven with body and spirit. And I believe this is Elijah and Moses, that join him, and other disciples that decide to join him. So these are really beautiful paintings. This is Raphael's painting of the Transfiguration for Rome's St. Peter's Basilica. Was his last work. I'm flipping through the pages to make sure that I'm covering as much as I can, because I might have to go back and share a little bit more since there's so much information. They talk about Mary's tomb, where when they found it, there was roses and lilies found. That is what was left of her. Her body was taken into heaven, body and spirit as well. They actually talk about Dante. I'm going to read this section and I'll get into the rest because I want to make sure that I don't miss talking about this. And this is a really fun, interesting section. It's called Works of Art. And this is a 12th century relief showing the Holy Family's flight to Egypt. Oh, this is something else that I'm reading here. I wonder, this is a mosaic that I'm seeing here, but I don't think they mention what this stained glass window of Mary and her newborn. No, this isn't it. Ugh, I don't think they have any information on this. Oh, a detail from a mosaic in Milan's monumental cemetery. That's the image of Mary as a mosaic. They talk about Dante here, and I think it's so interesting because I mentioned to you that I wanted to integrate Dante's stories, Dante Alighieri's stories, into the Bible, because it really, you can intertwine and it'll sink in better once you're able to connect Dante Alighieri to the Bible and to these times, which are really interesting. So this is Works of Art. Mary's presence, her face, her words has inspired countless people, making her one of the most familiar figures in the arts. She is presented as the patient mother, the caring friend, the grieving parent, the guiding light, the one who helps individuals in humanity. For the faithful, she is most importantly the one who helps these lost become found. One who had lost his way was Dante Alighieri, the great 14th century poet, had spent years in exile, never returning to his beloved Florence. In his monumental work, The Divine Comedy, in embodiment of Dante, takes a journey that can be seen as an allegory for his own life. Mary is his constant and largely unseen companion as he descends through the levels of hell, ascends into purgatory, and makes his way past the spheres of paradise. This is really interesting because I love the story of the Divine Comedy. I had the opportunity to take a course on Hillsdale, and they feature a really interesting professor who sounds a lot like Ira Glass. And what he mentions and how he pitches the course is, he mentions that he says, I wish I was you listening to this for the first time, because the stories and actually the images that they use to explain, the 3 different books, or the 3 different, the 3 different books are the 3 different stages that Dante Alighieri takes us through: Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. They illustrate it so nicely online on the online course that you really feel like it's an immersive experience. I would even watch the trailers that he does. Again, he sounds like Hourglass. I feel like I could share with you the name of the trailers so you can watch them for yourself, but it's so immersive and it's so magnificent. I feel like listening to him talk about it and the images that they use, it really, the images that they use from the books, or the images from the books that they take it from, it really jumps out at you when they talk about the upward spiral into heaven. I know that phrase has been used in the past, and you want to give it credit to that, because that's where it comes from. It's the upward spiral of these angels that, as you get closer to the top, that's where God is. And, they make it so that these images really jump out at you from the books that Dante Alighieri shares with us. I'm going to continue reading this. It says, "The journey to Mary, Dante's narrative journey from the dark wood to the celestial light, from earthly understanding to divine revelation, nears its end when he comes upon Mary, the poet wrote, Virgin Mother, daughter of your Son, humbler and higher than all other creatures. You are she who so ennobled human nature that nature's very maker did not disdain to himself be made by you. Mary's Dante's mediatrix, the saint who lets him glimpse the omnipotent. And as with Dante's trek, there's a long history of artists seeking Mary. In 1723, a young Johann Sebastian Bach hopped to impress congregates in Leipzig and wrote a piece for Christmas, Vespers, based on Luke's Magnificent, and Franz Schubert created Ave Maria, Hail Mary. This is a good song, actually, Ave Maria. They played it during my sister's 15th birthday party at the church. A musical prayer often remembered for Disney's interpretation in Fantasia. I'm going to write down that I want to share that with you. So that you can hear the song for yourself. It's really nice. My name is actually Eva Maria. And I was named by my father's mother. And I share the same middle name with my twin. My grandmother was very religious, and she prayed every day since she was a child. And she grew up close to a convent. And, I was lucky enough to get that name. I get a lot of compliments. I do recommend the name for babies. As a child, I really, is a song written in my country, in where I was born. This is my country too, the United States of America, which I identify myself mostly with because this is all I've known. I've only gone back once since I moved here. And honestly, it's because I feel like I can go back at any moment. But I identify with being more American because this is where I grew up and I know more of my surroundings here. And yeah, so there's a song in Guatemala that was created, and it is called Ave Maria. And it goes like, it's so cringy. It's a cringy song from like the 70s, I think. And it's about Eva Maria going to the beach looking for the sun. It's a cute song. I don't know if I want to share it. I think I'll share it because it's unique to me. Again, people cannot copy you in what you do and everything that you do because you are unique to yourself. It's a cute song. And as a child, people would sing it to me, which was really funny. Let me finish this section up. Shrines for faithful. By the 5th century, shrines and churches, such as one in Ephesus, were being built to Mary. Cathedrals like the 14th century Notre Dame de Paris extol her and serve as a gathering place for her devoted Filippo. Okay, we're getting into the section of what I wanted to read to you. This is Michelangelo, actually. He created a statue of Mary holding Jesus, but he puts his own face on Jesus. It says, according to the tradition, Mary suffered 7 sorrows, the 6th being her dead son's descent from the cross. Michelangelo was young when he first presented this scene in his Pietà for Rome's St. Peter's Basilica. The artist returned to the subject. Decades later, he planned the disposition for his own tomb, showing Mary and others lowering Jesus from the cross, with Michelangelo's own face carved on the man assisting them. Before his death, Michelangelo started work on his Pietà Rondoni, though he never completed the piece. I can relate to that. It's hard to finish works of art, some things you just, are meant to be unfinished. Okay, this is the section which is one of the most important. So we're going to get into the sightings. Sacred sites is what it's titled. I'm just going to read it and then get into the rest of the things here. Okay. As a mediatrix, Mary has appeared to people over the centuries. There are many, many claims of visitations by her. Quite a few have drawn attention. A number of locals attract both pilgrims in need of guidance and supplicants navigating both the corporeal and temporal as they fervently pray for a personal encounter with the Mother of God. One day in 1531, Juan Diego was rushing to Mass for the Feast of Immaculate Conception near Mexico City, Mexico. So this is where he finds Guadalupe. I don't know how to pronounce that in English, honestly. It's Guadalupe. As he did, he came upon a glowing woman who spoke to him in Nahuatl, his native language. I wish that a temple be eradicated here quickly, so I may therein exhibit and give all my love, compassion, help, and protection. This is why we pray to God, pray to Mary, for the love of God to come down on us. The reason why we pray the rosary is that we're praying to Mary to please send a message to God, to please send us love. And so that's one of the reasons why it's really healthy to pray the rosary, because we're having faith and we're moving closer for God to send us love onto earth. She reportedly instructed the Christian convert. Diego told the bishop what he experienced, but the relic did not believe him. When Mary returned, she instructed Diego to gather flowers, even though it was winter. He found roses, and as he opened his cloak to hand them to the bishop, Mary's image miraculously appeared emblossomed on his clothes. I will show you a picture of Guadalupe so that you have an image of what. So you have an image of what she looked like when she appeared and how she appeared on his clothing. This is what she looks like. That's what she looks like. That's Guadalupe, Lady of Guadalupe shrine. She appeared that way on his clothing, and it was after he had gathered roses on his clothing that he had in front of him. And when he let down the roses to give to prove, she instructed them. She said, pick up these flowers, these roses, and bring them to this bishop so that you can prove that I'm real. And as he did that, as he shared the roses fell on the ground of the cathedral, and then they saw the image of Mary, of Guadalupe, on his clothing. And so that proved that, the miracle of Guadalupe appearing. Yes, okay, so I've already read that to you. Mary's image miraculously appeared, yes, on his clothes, 20 million people a year visit Mexico City Basilica to see the Our Lady of Guadalupe icon, reportedly from Diego's cloak, and to attend one of the hourly masses. Okay, we're going to get into Lourdes in France, which is another sighting. And it mentions it here. I'm looking for the sighting in Fatima, but I don't see it here at all, actually. Mention it. They don't mention it. But I will share with you the information that I've learned from the messages from Fatima in Portugal. This is Lourdes, and the most interesting thing that I found in Lourdes, France, is that there's been, again, many miracles, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, where you know, in this cathedral, there's flowing water, and when people bathe themselves in it or they pour it on themselves, they experience these miracles happen to them. And a lot of them have been unreported. I think over 70,000 of them. I will share the name of the video so you can see that video for yourself in the description box, so that you'll see it for yourself, the miracles that have happened, and especially this one miracle of this older woman who her spinal cord was twisted and she had to wear this brace around her torso for many years, I think for 15 years, and a brace on her leg, and her foot was twisted. And she went to the cathedral in Lourdes, and 3 days later, she goes into a chapel where she lived, nearby where she lived, and she goes into the chapel, prays, and she hears this voice that tells her to remove the brace around her torso and remove the brace on her leg. And, you know, she feels this warmth, heat inside of her, and, you know, she walks out of the chapel cured. And it is, I think, the 70th miracle that they mention, where they can't explain how it is that this woman has a crooked spinal cord, not able to walk, and her foot is completely just twisted, and she comes out of the chapel and she is cured and she's able to walk on her own. And she's French. And so I'll share that video with you. I wrote down that I'll share that video so you can hear it for yourselves. But I think it's so special, and I want to make sure that you know about it. It's you know, many miracles that they're not able to explain, scientists and doctors. Lourdes, probably the most famous pilgrimage sites in Lourdes in France. In 1858, a 14-year-old Marie Bernadette, it's a difficult name to say, was heading to the nearby grotto when she saw a shimmering woman who told her, "I am the Immaculate Conception." The woman is believed to have spoken to Bernadette of helping the poor, of love, of penance, saying, "Tell the priest to build a chapel here." The community cleaned the grotto, which had served as a garbage dump. Word spread of visitations, and now 6 million people visit Lourdes every year. The sick seeking relief take part in procession of the blessed sacraments and drink the grotto's spring water, which is believed to have curative powers. Apparently there's an American vision here. America's vision in 1859. I don't know about this, so I'm reading this for the first time. In 1859, a year after Mary showed herself to Benner. I have a difficult time saying this. Bernadette. Adele Bryce, an immigrant from Dion-le-Val, Belgium, saw Mary as she floated into the air between two trees in Champion, Wisconsin. That's really scary. She saw Mary floating in the air between two trees in Wisconsin. The Virgin was dressed in white, and above her head sat a crown made of stars. I am the Queen of Heaven who prays for conversions of sinners, she told Bryce. Mary visited her. Sorry, I need to read that again. I am the Queen of Heaven who prays for the conversion of sinners. Oh yes, that's also something that she asks of people, to pray for people who are sinners. I need a drink of water. Mary visited her 3 times and instructed her, gather the children in this wild country and teach them what they should know for salvation. Fulfilling Mary's command, Bryce spent the rest of her life teaching Catholicism to children. In 2010, the site on which Our Lady of Good Hope shrine now stands became the first local in the United States to have a church-validated apparition of the Virgin. So that's another apparition that's happened that I was not aware about. But again, I would go out and get this because it's really good. They've got a lot of beautiful paintings and it gives you an immersive experience. A lot of beautiful imagery that you don't want to miss out on, because information that we learn, and just like food that we take into our brains and into our souls, needs to be colorful. It needs to be artistic. It needs to be meaningful. Just as you eat your food, it needs to be colorful because it enters through your eyes and it feeds your soul. So the same way, I would recommend, so that you're able to connect with the information, learning about Mary, it will make a huge difference. And so they don't talk about the apparition in Portugal. And that is Our Lady of the Rosary, Fatima. And the story about that, I can actually explain to you. It's a testimony that I can share with you, where I was living in my home city here in Boston, and I was curious. I'm always curious doing my own research, and I found this video of Our Lady of Fatima, and I was curious about the documentary, and apparently it's something where it opened up my intuition spiritually, and I believe everyone's able to do this. Also, once you watch this video, it will open up your spirituality and intuition. That's what happened to me, and I'm sharing this with you so that you can go out and watch this for yourself every time you watch something, every time you expose yourself to someone or something, you are opening up a portal into that thinking. And so what happened to me with that documentary is that it opened up my intuition and spirituality completely. I was able to see more things as far as like I experienced an sleep paralysis where I wasn't able to move my body. But to my left, I saw what I believe was an ancestor of mine. I don't know if this house was, there's bad spirits or good spirits, but I didn't feel anything terrible from this. I guess you would call her a spirit. Right now, actually, when I think of what happened when I saw her, I just felt peace, and I felt like she was not moving when I saw her. I felt peace, and I felt the presence of her. And I don't know if it was the message was of protection is what it was. When I think of her and I see her, it was in the morning, early hours, maybe 6 a.m. The sun is just coming out, and you know how through the curtains, you can almost see the light come through. Well, she was standing to my left on my desk chair, and she was about like 4 feet tall, or maybe 5 feet tall. I don't know. She was very tiny, and she was standing on my desk chair, and she was wearing this fuchsia colored shirt. And when I looked into what the meaning of that colored shirt was, or blouse she was wearing, it means sophistication and maturity. And I don't know if it was a message from maybe one of my ancestors, but it was a woman with her hair tied back in a ponytail at the bottom of her head. And I think she may have been a darker skin. I don't know. It was just very dark in the room. But the image of her didn't scare me. I could only see her through the corner of my left eye because I couldn't move. I was, again, in sleep paralysis, so it may have been a hallucination in my brain where I was half awake, half asleep, and I could feel my eyes flutter open. And as I fluttered my eyes open, it was just like 3 to 5 seconds that I could see her to my left, standing still. Again, I didn't feel fear. I felt like a sense of calmness and peace. And I think it was a message of protection is what it was. And until this day, I smile because it's a message from an ancestor or a message from God, that there is someone there always looking after you and protecting you. And so I don't remember if it happened that I had this hallucination after I saw this video, but I think it may have happened where I watched this video. It was between the morning hours of 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. I just binge watched it. I don't remember how long it was, but it was a documentary explaining the apparition of Mary and Fatima in the city of Fatima. And she appeared to three shepherd children. I'm going to look up the story here so that I don't mess anything up for you. Okay, the story of Lady Fatima refers to the apparitions of the Virgin Mary to 3 young shepherd children, Lucia, Francisco, and Jacintia. Lucia is the older one, Francisco was younger than her, and Jacintia was the youngest, in Fatima, Portugal, starting in 1917. I'm going to write down that I want to share the video of the documentary that you can watch for yourself also. So that maybe you can open up your intuition as well, and maybe miracles will come to you as well, and you're able to connect with God. And it says Portugal starting in 1917, where she revealed 3 secrets, urged daily rosary prayers, and requested prayers for sinners and world peace, culminating in the miracle of the sun, witnessed by thousands, miracle of the sun, culminating the miracle of the sun. There was a miracle of the sun where it did this circular motion towards the earth. There was over 70,000 people that arrived there in the Fatima area and witnessed it, and it's documented. So you can find this information for yourself in the news during that time. It happened on October 13th, 1917, and thousands witnessed it. And, you know, many were afraid. I guess if you're a sinner, you get frightened, but I guess it is scary seeing something like that. But these are signs and things that happen that are supernatural warnings from God, you know, because he wants a relationship with you, and he wants to help you. And he also wants to make sure that we're all being kind to each other. We're being peaceful, and that we're being good humans. I don't know where we all go after we all die. I feel like it's all individual depending on what your reality is right now. And to prevent from anything bad happening to you, I know that in some near-death experiences that I've shared in the past, where to prevent from anything bad happening to you, you want to pray to God, and you want to know the rosary, how to pray for it to get you in any terrible bad circumstance that you find yourself. If you have a near-death experience, you're not feeling like you're in a form of hell for eternity. For some near-death experiences that I've seen on YouTube, where a woman experienced how she felt hell for eternity, and I just don't think that's necessary for everybody worldwide. I think that everyone has the ability to get themselves out of that situation by simply praying the rosary or praying to God. That's my mission, to help as many people as possible so that they have this knowledge and they're able to help themselves in those situations. I'm hearing the pigeons again behind me. So strange. Let's see. So the apparitions, the who, when, where, what she looked like. This is the apparitions when it was the 13th of each month from May to October 1917, after appearing to an angel in 1916, where near Fatima, Portugal, what she looked like, more brilliant than the sun, dressed in white, and described as indescribably beautiful. So she also had a gold crown. I don't have a picture of her, which is too bad. Oh, I do have a picture of her. This is her right here. And there's a better image, which maybe I'll post on my Instagram. We'll see. But this is an image of her right here. There's a gold crown. And as you can see on her robe, along the side of the edge is gold. So that's what she looked like to the children. And she shared 3 secrets that I want to share with you that are really important and are significant, because I actually had something coincidental happen to me in my early, I don't know if I was 18 or 19 or maybe 20, but it was around that time where I had something happen to me, and it had something to do with the 3rd secret. So the message and secrets that Our Lady gave in Fatima, the Lady of Our Lady of the Rosary asked the children to pray the Rosary daily for world peace and conversion of sinners, and to offer sacrifices. She revealed 3 secrets. The other reason why it's important to pray the Rosary, and I know I've mentioned this in the past, I don't remember the names of these 2 doctors who are Indian. And I know I've mentioned this in my other videos, and I keep forgetting to memorize these 2 important doctors who are Indian, who mentioned that it is important to start your children praying the Rosary as young as 6, because then you get into the habit of doing it, and it serves your subconscious a good thing. It's good for your subconscious, and you're in a meditative state, and you're only having good thoughts while you're doing that. And so as you grow up, while you're doing praying the Rosary, good things happen to you. You're having that, reciting them during the day, and you're attracting good energy from people, because you have you're reciting the Rosary unintentionally, maybe in your mind, and people can sense that energy off of you when you approach them or as they come near you. And so you want to always pray the Rosary as much as you can. I feel like it's important, and it's good for your mind and your soul, and it brings you into a good meditative state. So we'll get into the secrets right now. The first vision that she reveals is vision of hell, a terrifying vision of souls suffering in hell, emphasizing the need for prayer and penance. Penance is something that you do. I'm going to look up the definition of that so that we understand what that is. Definition of penance refers to action or self-punishment done out of regret for sin. So it's not a form of punishment. It's just a form of penance, that you're giving back or doing something because you've done something wrong. You want to prove that you are really sorry for what you've done. And, that's also another reason for praying. Here, I want to add to that. It's a great sea of fire and despair is how they describe the vision of hell. So it's the vision of hell and sinners and suffering of sinners, conversion of sinners, if humans would not stop offending God. This is actually leading to the second secret. So the second secret is end of World War I and World War II, prophecies about about World War I and the beginning of the World War II. the beginning of World War II, with a request to consecrate Russia to her Immaculate Heart. Here I've written down something separate, which has to do with the second secret. End of the Great War in 1917, which is when she appeared. She appeared in 1917. Fatima did, to these 3 children. And the beginning of another war, unless people repented. Consecration of Russia to her Immaculate Heart. This secret was interpreted of warning of spreading of atheistic regimes. So of people not having a religion. I don't struggle with that. I respect everybody's point of view. But as I've mentioned before, and as the evidence shows that people have come forward in the millions, perhaps even billions. At this point, we don't know because we're not recording it. Unfortunately, and I hope that one day it is recorded, and because we all have a cell phone and we're able to record these things, again, I respect other people's point of view, but many have converted to Christianity or, something to do with Jesus because, and I just touched my nose because I had something dusty on my nose, honestly. Yes, a lot of people have converted, and entire countries and nations, and I believe in Asia somewhere, by the millions, Jesus keeps appearing to them. And I don't think there's anything frightening. I think it's one of the most blessed things that can happen to you. Where when Jesus appears to you, I think it's so incredible. It's so lucky. You're very fortunate for something like that to happen to you, for Jesus to appear to you. I think it's an incredible blessing. So I think it's something to think about. So that was the second secret. We'll get into the third one. A bishop in white. This is the third one. A bishop in white. A vision of a bishop, priest, and religious people being killed, interpreted as the assassination of Pope John Paul II. And so, yes, they explain that there's a vision of some soldiers attacking the Pope or a bishop, and it has to do with, Jean Paul II was, there was an attempt of murder towards him in May 13th, 1981. And it happened on the day when Fatima first appeared to these 3 children. And he made the connection immediately. Thankfully, Jean Paul II was saved. But during that, in the early 2000s, I know that John Paul II, there was a lot of news surrounding him where he was very sick. He died in April 2005. But earlier than that, maybe a year or 2 before that, he was having heart problems. And I had a dream of him passing away, where I'm in my house. My mother, I think we're all on our way somewhere. And my mother is leaving to go to church, and she's in a rush. And she says, I I almost feel like crying because it's so real to me, because it felt like I did really well. I wasn't emotional through this whole video, but these things stay with me, especially when they're dreams, when they actually feel like they're real. For me, some of these dreams that I have are really scary because I feel like they are realities that actually happen and that I'm living. And for that day, John Paul II was feeling sick, and I think he was just feeling sick. There was something wrong with his heart, and I think it may have been 2 years before he died. But I was very young, and my mother in the hallway, you know, she comes to me and she says, sorry, this is so hard to hear because I can hear my mother's voice, and when she talks to me, it's like, it's very powerful to hear your mother talk to you about something that's very serious. And she says that she says sorry, because it brings me back to that time, so I get very emotional. She says John Paul II has died. She says you need to pray. She says you better, it's for her, when she says it to me, it's more like an ultimatum. She says you better pray. She says John Paul II has died, and you better pray, she says. And so she rushes and she leaves the house, and she goes, I think she runs off to go to church, and I'm at home. And the reason why this is so scary to me, because when she leaves and says that John Paul II hasn't died yet, but I think 2 years later he dies, or sometime in that time frame, he dies. And in the dream, when she leaves, this sounds so silly, but it's really scary to me because it was right around the time where this other movie I had watched recently, it's called Identity, and it's about a man that has schizophrenia, and I had just watched it. It was a movie called Identity, and it came out in 2003. Yeah, so this makes sense that I had this dream 2 years before John Paul II had died. And in this movie Identity, it's about this man who's schizophrenic, and for some reason it bled into my dream, where in this movie that I'd watched, John Cusack is in it, and in this movie, this man has schizophrenia, and he has these completely different personalities in his mind, and he opens up. There's a book open to him in the trailer that they show, where he writes differently in this different personalities that are shown to him. But in my dream, and sorry, I get really emotional because I feel, and I can actually teleport back into that dream and just remember everything vividly. I have a really good photographic memory. A lot like, what is that movie star or TV star? Her name is Mary Tyler Moore is her name. And she was actually interviewed, I think on 60 Minutes, where she talks about how she has an incredible photographic memory. And mine is not that vivid, where I can remember I had breakfast last week. I couldn't tell you. The beginning of last week, I couldn't tell you. But in my dream, there's a little boy that comes out of the bathroom, and it is a lot like, he looks a lot like that little boy in that movie called Identity, that was released in 2003, and it was really creepy. He comes out, and then he runs back in to the bathroom, and then this monster comes out, and it's this tall, like 7-foot monster that comes out. It looks like a man, but he's got, like, I don't know, maybe horns, and his face is really scary to me. It almost feels like it's the devil. And it's this big man, 7 foot, in my kitchen. And I wake up yelling, screaming at the top of my lungs. As soon as I see this man in real life, I wake up like this. I am yelling like murder. Murder has just happened. I immediately start crying because it is so vivid, so real to me. And my parents come rushing in. My father's holding my hand, and I'm telling them about my dream, and they're kind of smiling and laughing because they know that sometimes I sensed that the John Paul II was not feeling well, and I knew that his death was coming close. And so, I don't know, I can connect with this third secret, but in all honesty, again, as I said before, we have the power. All humans here, no matter how insignificant you feel you think you are not. God put you on this earth for a reason, and he needs all of us, all hands on deck, to pray and to do the right thing always, and to change our future for the better, and to do the right thing always, because how God can turn things around, and either it can go really bad for us or it can be really good. And I know we all have the power to, all of us here, we all have the power to save each other, to speak good things about each other, no matter how badly or hurt you have been. If you can't say anything good, don't say anything bad either, because that's not good either. God listens to everything that you're saying, and when you speak things poorly about people, it could be bad for yourself also. Again, if you're defending yourself, defending your character, I don't see why it's a bad thing to defend yourself and share your thoughts. And if, it involves somebody else, you need to tell the truth, and share the things that you're being attacked about. But never do it out of malice, out of like putting somebody else in a bad situation. And I'm sorry that I get really emotional about these things, but time and time again in the last 2 and 3 years, I have encountered God through people, humans. And it's so incredible that God has put all of us here to work with each other and to work together. And he's putting us through a lot of challenges. And we are all him. This is what I've been described it as. This is all of us. Imagine a whole bunch of stars together up above. This is God in one. We are all one. And what he's done here is that he's spread us all out all over the world. And so we're all his stars and his souls together. He wanted to experience life through each one of us. And so that has been something that he's done. And so, again, best thing to do is to save each other and to be kind to each other more than ever. Again, I've heard from another person who is really connected to God, and I listen to her often. She mentions that more now than ever during the holidays, it is important to be kind to each other, be patient, and to, let the person in front of us go first if that's necessary, and to just be patient, and just be kind to ourselves and to other people, and to take care of our bodies, because this is our temple, and God gave us this to cherish and not to harm each other, ourselves and other people. And, you never know, you may be reincarnated into other people. So, other people that you interact with. And so it's important that you always be kind to everyone. So I think that's all I had for you. Again, I don't want to make this too longer than it already has been. I'm going to have to cut this video into 2, I believe, because it's gotten to be too long. I want to thank you for taking the time you've taken to spend with me. And I hope you go out and purchase this awesome magazine. Again, National Geographic. I think it's incredible that they've featured her and her life. Eva Zubek is a influencer that I follow, and I do recommend watching her as well. She also works with, I believe, the National Geographic and the Discovery Channel. She has been featured in places of the Amazon with indigenous people, and she's gone to Colombia recently also, and she's being featured in other places, so I would check her out. I'll make sure to mention her in the description box below also, so that you can check her out. But thank you for taking the time to watch my video here, and I hope you have a great day.